On August 22nd, 1191, the Crusader army, led by Richard the Lionheart of England, departed from the coastal stronghold of Acre, advancing southward toward the city of Jaffa. The capture of Acre earlier that year was a pivotal victory for the Crusaders, but Richard understood that to mount a successful campaign against Jerusalem, securing Jaffa was essential. The port's strategic importance lay in its role as a supply hub, crucial for sustaining any prolonged assault on the Holy City. The port of Jaffa had been devastated by Saladin's forces in the summer of 1190. Recognizing its value, the Ayyubid Sultan sought to ensure it would not fall into Crusader hands. Against this backdrop, Richard assembled a formidable force of 2,000 mounted knights and between 10,000 and 12,000 men-at-arms, including spearmen, archers, and crossbowmen, to begin his march. Meanwhile, Saladin, the Ayyubid commander and master tactician, mobilized his army of approximately 25,000 soldiers, determined to halt the Crusaders' advance and safeguard Jerusalem. Richard's march was meticulously planned to avoid the disastrous mistakes of the Battle of Hattin, which had devastated the Crusader forces 4 years earlier. Moving at a steady pace of 5 to 6 kilometers per day, the Crusaders prioritized discipline and endurance. The searing Arabian sun and the weight of their armor posed constant threats of heat exhaustion, so Richard restricted the army's movement to the cooler morning hours. Frequent rest stops near water sources ensured his men remained hydrated and combat ready. To further secure his forces, Richard marched his army along the coastline, using the sea to guard their right flank against surprise attacks. A fleet of supply ships shadowed the army, providing resources and serving as a refuge for the wounded. Infantry units were rotated regularly to maintain their stamina, and despite constant harassment from Saladin's skirmishes, Richard's leadership kept morale high and discipline intact. Saladin's initial strategy relied on hit-and-run skirmishes aimed at wearing down the Crusaders and disrupting their supply lines. His army was composed of diverse units, including Bedouin archers, Turkish horse archers, Sudanese infantry, and the elite Mamluk cavalry. Divided into 3 groups, left and right flanks, and a central force, Saladin's army was a model of organization. Under his banners, surrounded by bodyguards and accompanied by the rhythmic beats of kettle drummers, Saladin commanded his troops with precision. However, by early September, Saladin recognized that mere harassment would not stop the Crusaders. As Richard's army approached the forested region near Arsuf, Saladin prepared for a decisive confrontation. The dense woodlands, which ran parallel to the coast, provided cover for his forces to stage an ambush. On the morning of September 7th, 1191, Richard's army broke camp and resumed their march. Crusader scouts reported enemy activity in all directions, signaling the proximity of Saladin's entire force. Emerging from the forests, Saladin's army launched a full-scale assault. The Crusaders immediately assumed a defensive formation, with infantry and archers at the front, protecting the mounted knights and baggage trains in the rear. Their backs to the sea, they were shielded from attacks on that flank. Despite heavy arrow volleys and repeated charges by Saladin's cavalry, the Crusader lines held firm, their discipline unshaken. As the battle raged, frustration grew among the Crusader ranks. Saladin's horse, archers continued their relentless barrage, causing mounting casualties. Suddenly, the Hospitaller Knights at the rear broke ranks and charged headlong into the Muslim lines. It remains uncertain why they acted independently, perhaps angered by the sustained attacks or fearing further losses. Witnessing the Hospitallers' charge, Richard quickly adapted, ordering the rest of his cavalry to follow suit. The heavily armored knights smashed into Saladin's lines, with devastating force. Lances splintered, swords clashed, and Saladin's troops began to waver under the ferocity of the Crusader assault. The unexpected counterattack threw Saladin's army into disarray. Many soldiers fled the battlefield, while others struggled to regroup. Richard, leading from the front, fought valiantly, inspiring his troops. Saladin, realizing his army was outmatched, ordered a retreat to the forested hills of Arsuf. Despite the chaos, Saladin managed to reorganize a portion of his forces, ensuring a controlled withdrawal. The Crusader victory at Arsuf was decisive. Contemporary chroniclers estimate that Saladin lost around 7,000 men, though the true figure may have been lower. Richard's casualties were significantly lighter, with approximately 700 Crusaders killed. The battle showcased Richard's exceptional leadership and tactical acumen, as well as the resilience of the Crusader army. While Saladin avoided complete annihilation, the loss at Arsuf marked a turning point, enabling Richard to capture Jaffa and solidify his position for future campaigns. The Battle of Arsuf remains a testament to the enduring clash of cultures, strategies, and leadership during the Crusades. It highlights Richard the Lionheart's brilliance as a commander and the formidable challenge posed by Saladin and his Ayyubid forces. The conflict set the stage for further confrontations, leaving an indelible mark on the history of the Holy Land.